Hello. Hey guys, happy Monday. Hello. Yes, I am in PJ pants this morning. And it's time to ignore the work email. I like that. Sometimes it's okay to ignore the work email. Wait just a few minutes for people to hop in. It was a crazy weekend. Actually, it was really cool. Morning, get your life together, Sansoni. Whoop. It's afternoon. It's 2 in the afternoon to be exact. It was a really interesting weekend here. They had like I don't know what it was, but they had a festival at there's an old Civil War battlefield next to where I'm staying or close to where I'm staying. And they had some sort of festival there over the weekend, but it was really cool because they brought out actual like Civil War stuff. It was almost like a reenactment. And they set up like Civil War style tents, the way that they had their tents and there were old wagons. And they had like little fires, and you could go inside the tents and see what they looked like. It was really cool. Yes. Cool. You have a few people. I'll get started in just a second. I hope everybody had a lovely weekend. I'm a weirdo, and Monday is my favorite day of the week. I know. I'll be looking over here a lot because that's where I have some information. Hate speech. MAGA from Boston. Hi, Boston. Okay, I guess I can get started. We have a few people here. Hi, Glenn. How are you? Thank you everyone for joining. I hope everyone had a great weekend. No, Sarah, pay attention to your viewers. Okay. What happened in Texas? This is pretty wild, and there's actually a lot to go through. Happy Monday, Morris. But first, let's look at the basics of what happened, and then we will go through everything together and talk about it. This is wild. Okay, let's look at the basics of what happened. It is Taco Day in Texas yet? No, Tuesday is Taco Day. Tuesday is Taco Day. Good Monday from Georgia. Georgia, I'm from Georgia. I grew up in Gwinnett County. Okay, let's look at the basics of what happened in Texas. So, as we all know, it is Pride Month, and this bar in Dallas decided to have an event. And this is what the event is. So, this is basically a write up of what happened because it was met with protesters. We'll look into all that. So, it says protesters appear to have clashed with parents and other attendees at a self described family friendly drag show in a Dallas nightclub. The event, titled Drag the Kids to Pride, was held at 11 a.m. at the Mr. Gay nightclub. The description of the event, available on Eventbrite, depicts planned events of the show as family-friendly spinoff of our famed Champagne Drag Brunch. So I guess typically on Sundays or Saturdays they have a champagne brunch. So instead of doing that, they decided to do this family-friendly drag show event. The description inquires, do you want to hit the stage with queens? We have 5 limited spots for young performers to take the stage solo or with a queen of their choosing. Images shared to Twitter show several children sitting in the middle of a dance floor. In front of the children stands a drag queen with a sign behind them that reads "It's not going to lick itself." So that is basically, those are the basics of what happened. Now I'm going to show you pictures of this event. We're going to talk for a minute and then we'll go into more of what happened at the event. So the pictures that are depicted in this article, I'm going to show you. And honestly, I'm like, I don't even know if I can show this on YouTube, but we're going to. When did South Park become reality? That is what I'm saying. Okay, so these are some pictures of the event. So, sorry, I have to show you my phone. I can't use StreamYard in this location. It's blurry. So this is the event on Eventbrite. It says drag the kids to Pride. Did people pay for tickets? So this was on Saturday. This is an image. So this is the sign back there that says it's not going to lick itself. This is one of the queens. You can see she's like dropping it on the floor. There's children in these stools and their parents all around her. So these are two children in the middle of the stage or the runway or whatever it is. Here is a queen back there. That's the sign that says it's not going to lick itself. And let it be known also that children, so some of the drag performers, and we'll look at more pictures in a second. Some of the drag performers were wearing outfits like the ones that you just saw. They were wearing like fishnets, booties out. They're dropping it on the floor, knee-high boots. And children were passing them dollar bills. So that's what the show is about. Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second because when I talk about these things, I really, really, really try to understand where these parents are coming from and where these people are coming from with this nonsense. I really do. Even though morally, I think everyone involved in this should be in jail, I really try to understand the other side. I could almost understand, although I think it would be towing the line. I could almost understand like if this actually was a family-friendly drag show. So let's say they go to this show and it's just the drag queens and they're wearing gowns and they're dancing around or they're doing a little runway. There's no dropping it. There's no booty out. They're just kind of maybe singing songs. Like back in the day, drag queens used to wear long, sparkly gowns and they would sing like Aretha Franklin or Celine Dion or Shania Twain or whatever. They would sing songs, they would wear long gowns, and that was sort of the show. That's not and if that's all that it was, if the children weren't giving dollar bills, if it wasn't at this nightclub, which by the way, this nightclub is 21 and over typically, if it wasn't at this nightclub with that sign on the wall, or maybe they covered the sign and maybe they just had the queens in their dresses, like kind of walking around or dancing around or singing a song, I could sort of understand that. I think it might be towing the line, but I think you would also have an argument there. But what this was not family friendly. This was drag queens in fishnets with their booties out, dropping it on the ground, stripper-esque dances. Children are giving them dollar bills. This is normalizing like stripping culture, basically. This isn't like a classic drag show. This is a very over sexualized show and in a sexualized environment with what was on the wall. So this was not family friendly drag show. Not at all. And this is coming from someone, I have had friends that have done drag. I've been to drag shows. I lived in West Hollywood. I would go to drag queen bingo. I have nothing against that. I think it's kind of funny. I think it's entertaining sometimes. I've never been to a show like that, but that is an adult show for adults. I myself have performed burlesque. But again, that is an adult show that was for adults. And if any children would have been present, I would have been very uncomfortable and I wouldn't have done it because that is not, even though I have done burlesque, I can tell you that children should not be there. Saying that this is inappropriate for children, this is not an anti LGBTQ, it's not anti drag queen. It is saying that this is not appropriate for children. And when you talk about grooming, grooming doesn't necessarily mean overt touching or overt things. It means normalizing this type of behavior. And that's exactly what they are doing. Now, let's look at some more things that happened because a lot blew up about this entire thing. And a lot of protesters were there. This was in the new, like a lot of people were there. So let's look through this a little bit more. First, I want to highlight this. And this just goes to show you that you can be for, like, you can not see anything wrong with drag queens or drag performance, yet still not think this is appropriate for kids. So, Andy No tweeted out, a trans attendee of the children's drag show in Dallas who wanted to show support for transgender children has bravely tweeted that they felt uncomfortable about what they witnessed at the bar. So there was actually a trans individual there who went to this event thinking that it was going to be family friendly, went to this event thinking that they were going to show up and support trans children. And this person felt uncomfortable and expressed on Twitter how they felt. So I would like to read this. I went to the show wearing my Protect Trans Kids shirts and even, oh, I'm sorry, let me repeat that. I went to the show wearing my Protect Trans Kids shirt, and even I regret going. Initially, I thought it was fine, but as soon as I realized how weird the environment was, I was wrong. And I want to say, you can support trans kids and be mad at this event. My first instinct was to defend the event because the counter protesters were full of anti LGBTQ sentiment and had Trump hats. Also talked to John Doyle about Vosh V. I regret going. It's just hard to sympathize or agree with that side that rejects my trans identity. So this person is kind of in a conflict because there are a lot of protesters there that he didn't necessarily agree with. At the same time, he's like, I went to this event and it's not what I thought. It was uncomfortable. It was a weird environment and I don't support that. And I think that's where a lot of people find themselves. They know this is kind of wrong and icky, but then the other side, they're like, I don't know if I can agree with this. And I'm going to show you what he meant by John Doyle showing up. So if you don't know who John Doyle is, he's younger. I think he's in his early 20s. He's a very Christian, very conservative commentator. I quite like him. He's probably a lot more conservative than me when you look at the spectrum of conservatism. Then you should stood up and walked out. Well, I think this person did walk out. Any parent that believes a drag show can be family friendly is a lunatic. Well, can I tell Fish? You know, Fish. But I really, like, honestly, about this though, like back in the day, a drag show was not as overtly sexual as it is now. A drag show was a man in a wig and a lot of makeup, wearing a long, sparkly gown, singing Celine Dion or Shania Twain or Aretha Franklin. Like I said, like it used to not be so overtly sexual, or at least the overtly sexual side wasn't as mainstream as it is now. It's not just drag, it's like stripping. Exactly. A drag show used to be a talent contest. Yeah, exactly. And I think you can even argue that if that's what it was, if it was like a little talent show where, you know, these people, they just had their sparkly gowns on and they were singing or doing something like that, I think there could be an argument for having kids. But that is not at all what it was. So I'm going to show you some of the protests. So this is where this individual felt a little uncomfortable because he's like, I have these hardcore Christians here who are anti all LGBTQ, but then I have this side. Burlesque shows us to be funny, also like a musical. Yes. Okay. So I performed burlesque. I really went into comedy. So burlesque is kind of like a silly strip show, although you don't get naked. So don't think that I was a stripper or anything like that. You don't get naked, but it's burlesque. The meaning of the word is French for parody. So it's like a funny show. It kind of like pokes fun at femininity while celebrating it at the same time. It's like a parody of being sexy. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it's a fun show. It's like very sparkly and very kitschy, and it's goofy and funny. Um, and it's a little scantily clad. But the reason that I did that performance is I got really into comedy. I went to clown school. I did improv. I did stand up. I did sketch comedy. I did animation. I even went to physical comedy classes. So burlesque was one more avenue of comedy that I wanted to explore. And I performed burlesque at the Magic Castle in Hollywood. And it was very fun. But it was an adult show because it's a little scantily clad. I disagree, Sarah. A drag show isn't for children. What I'm saying is, if it was adults that were fully dressed and not being sexual, I'm saying that there could be an argument for it. That's what I'm saying. But there's absolutely no argument. Um, so I'm going to show you some of the counter protesters. And when I first saw this, I don't know. I wasn't sure if I really liked their tactic. Now I don't know. I'm a little on the fence about it. So this is John Doyle and other conservative guys showing up to this event while the parents, now keep in mind, the parents are in line to go into the event and they have their children with them. So when I first saw this, I was like, I don't know about this tactic. There are kids there, and I know what you're going to say. They're bringing kids into the show anyway, but I don't know. Just let me know what you think about this. So this is the conservative commentator John Doyle with a few, I guess, of his friends walking up onto the event while the parents are in line with the children.
I only have one question. Why do you want to put an axe wound in between your son's legs? Kids here, please get away. Yeah, that's the point. That's what happened. Please open the door. Open the door. I need to go. Like I said, get the ticket. You're not making America great anymore. Yes, we are. What do you mean? You're making America worse. You're bringing your children to this event. You need to go now. You're literally someone better. I'll pray for you, sweetie. Please do. We'll pray for you. You must repent. I wonder if the mama bear instinct is going to come out in 3 years when the mainstream Democrat Party platform is they want to rape your kids. And they're all going to think it's one big, smug little joke, these people, by the way. Understand that there is a bigger difference between 10 years ago and now than there would be between now and in 5 years when they're openly advocating for pedophilia like they've already started doing. You people are the symptom of a dying society, and you know it. You're scaring children. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You are child abusers, and you're not a real woman. Shame on you! 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 Your children should be home. Your kids aren't actually gay. You've just groomed them. You're a groomer.
Yeah, the first time I saw that, I didn't really like it, but the more and more I started learning at the event, yeah, exactly. The more and more I started learning about the event, I'm like, I'm not mad at them doing that at all. I'm not. It sucks that the kids were there. They shouldn't have been there in the first place. There's a Karen in every protest. There is. Oh, someone said that burlesque was put in variety shows to spice it up. That's actually what it was. And it's really funny that we're talking about this because that variety show that I performed in, there was a drag queen there. And so I'm totally, you do drag, like I think it's entertaining. Do it. It's just not a place for kids. That's adult entertainment. That wasn't just a Karen. That was a mega Karen. That was a mega Karen. Yeah, they shouldn't have been there. And yeah, at first I didn't like the way they approached it because it felt like just a bunch of like young dudes just rolling up on a bunch of moms. But the more I learned about the event, the more I watched that, the more I'm like, you know what? That type of stuff, unfortunately, that's where we are. That's just where we are as a society, unfortunately. So I'll show you some more footage from this. This is one of the performers that it was Alex Stein actually approached this performer. Hopefully I can find it. Okay, and this is what so Alex Stein I like what he did also because at least this was away from the kids. So this is when one of the performers was leaving the venue and you can see what the performer is wearing, and that in and of itself just goes to show you this was so highly inappropriate for children. So this is Alex Stein confronting one of the performers as the performer was leaving.
Little children, do you like dancing for little children? You don't think that's disgusting? Dancing around for little children? Don't you think that's disgusting? You don't think that's
away.
Hey, well, you can't just touch it. You don't think that's disgusting? You don't think that's disgusting?
Go on.
You don't think that's disgusting? Dancing for little children. You should be ashamed of yourself dancing for little children. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Fuck him. Is he a child? No.
You guys dance with little children. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You're disgusting. Think about what you just did.
The whore.
Okay, that's fine, but you dance naked in front of little children. You did. Then look at you. You dance in front of little children. You dance.
And that's the type of stuff that they were wearing, like booties out, fishnets, boots up to here, like dropping it on the floor for kids and kids handing them dollar bills. That's what was happening at this event. And then Andy No actually investigated one of these performers a little bit and said one of the performers for the drag event for children in Dallas, Texas, that was confronted by Andrew Carroll, who also Will Sinclair, has said he's becoming an educator. His boyfriend tried to block the camera, is Jared Neese. So yeah, this is the person, I guess, that is trying to become an educator. Yeah, that was the boyfriend that blocked the car. Andrew Carroll. Cool. So, will someone remind me why I'm going to school to be an educator for the state of Texas? So, that individual that was getting in the car is going to be an educator. Those are the people in the education system. Now I want to read you. So what also happened at this event is, and I liked this as well, there were a few different conservative approaches to this entire event. And one approach was a few conservatives actually went into the event, sat in the event, and then interviewed the performers after. And this is what some of the performers said. So it says right here, YouTube channel Flecka's Talks shared a video Sunday containing interviews with drag queens at the controversial Drag Your Kids to Pride event in Dallas. The event was hosted at the Mr. Gay nightclub, where attendees were encouraged to bring their children and watch and perform with drag queens, according to the video description. The interviews were hosted by Aldo Buttazzoni. Aldo Buttazzoni, that's an interesting name, who was given permission to sit in on the event. The description noticed the drag queens performed in front of a glowing pink neon sign that read, "It's not gonna lick itself." Though the video is focused on interviews with the performers and adult attendees, children can clearly be seen holding out cash for the drag queens, who promptly take it. And a young child with his face blurred out, reluctantly walks down a runway alongside one of the performers. When asked how they felt the event went, one of the performers named Ariel Diamond, that was who was being followed into the car at the end of the event. That was Ariel. Um, she said, or he said, it was amazing. I never get to perform in front of children, noting that it was a very emotional one and one of the best shows they've ever done. But Izoni asked attendees and drag queens whether they felt that exposing children to drag would encourage them to go into it themselves. Before I started doing drag, I was just a little gay boy running around the streets, one of the performers, Noelle Sinclair, told Bud Izoni. But now I feel a realized confident person because of drag. When asked the benefit of exposing children to drag, Diamond told Bud Izoni that this stuff isn't taught in school. You're not allowed to see all of this. This weekend, especially, is just a really big weekend for everyone to be themselves in a community where they know they're accepted, Sinclair responded before noting, except for these assholes outside, referring to the protesters. The video then cuts to a large group of protesters. Sinclair told Bud Izoni that they expected the protesters to be there. Protesters and supposed attendees had clashed outside the venue. One woman in a rainbow Love is Love t shirt told a man with a megaphone that he was scaring the children and repeatedly yelled for him to shut the F up. Do you think that drag is something that should be pushed into the mainstream? Aldo also asked a man wearing a gay pride Beto O'Rourke shirt. It already is, he said, whether people know it or not. A lot of the saying they use and stuff came straight from RuPaul's Drag Race. And so they're taking it over like shade and tea. And all of that is a big part of what's already in the straight community. And they're just embracing it, even though they don't understand where it came from. The clip then cuts to footage by comedian Alex Stein, who asked Sinclair if she liked dancing for little children. What appears to be a friend of the drag queen proceeded to push Stein away and said, "Your mom's a bitch." Uh, and that's where we're at as a society. Hello. Five players from the Tampa Bay Rays refused to wear pride. I don't think you should be forced to wear that. What do I think about MLB teams wearing Pride Month logos? Well, I think it's silly. I think it's very silly. And I just I don't want to be forced to wear or support anything I don't want to. I think you can be okay with people living their lives without having to wear a gay pride shirt. And the thing is, all of it is pure virtue signaling anyway. It's not none of it is sincere. It's all corporate virtue signaling, which would make me push back even more and not want to wear it even more because I know exactly what it is. First of all, we know that none of these large corporations, the MLB, the NBA, the NFL, Coca-Cola, Disney, like none of the higher ups actually care. They're just doing what they think they need to do. Hey, going to a baseball game can be fabulous now. Yeah, I don't think you should be forced to wear a rainbow on your uniform. Like when did this become a thing? This is now a thing. I just think the entire thing is just a huge virtue signal. Oh, speaking of the Dallas event, let me find it because there is also. Oh, I hope I saved it. Nobody has ever asked me what my pronouns are, by the way. Okay, so the entire Dallas subreddit is filled with grooming justifiers who think the child drag queen event that occurred this weekend is a good thing, actually. These people are fascists. They have to start calling themselves fascists. There can be no equivocating. They aren't equivocating anymore by hiding their MAGA or nationalists. They're identifying as fascists, and if you're not in their group, they will try to exterminate you. Oh wow. So this is some people who didn't like the protesters in Dallas. You might have to be prepared to defend yourselves. We've got to quit pretending that real Christians wouldn't do that. Oh, geez. But anywho, ahem. So this is in the post. Stop it. Stop it. This is in the post millennial. Texas State Rep Brian Slayton brought a bill on Monday to specifically bar minors from attending drag shows in his state. This after a weekend that saw protests and counter protests outside a drag show intended for kids at a bar in Dallas. Drag shows are no place for a child, Slayton said. I would never take my children to a drag show, and I know Speaker Dave Felon and my Republican colleagues wouldn't either. I will be filing legislation to address the issue, a new Texas legislator. The events of this past weekend were horrifying and show a disturbing trend in which perverted adults are obsessed with sexualizing young children. The state representative is obviously not speaking in hypotheticals, as there was an event hosted on Saturday where kids were specifically singled out and invited to come see a drag show in Dallas area at a Dallas area gay bar called Drag the Kids to Pride. Following several news stories and videos over the weekend in which underage Texas children were subjected to inappropriate sexual content by adults, State Representatives Brian Slayton announced he plans to file legislation protecting kids from drag shows and other inappropriate displays as soon as the next legislation session begins. Slayton issued a statement reading, the events of this past weekend were horrifying and showing. Oh, I already read that. The state lawmaker also intends to fight sex change therapies for minors, saying that they are child abuse. This goes along with what both Greg Abbott and Attorney General Ken Paxton and the state have previously said when they initiated plans to investigate parents who facilitate medicalized gender transition for minors, including puberty blockers and stunt growth and natural development, gender mutilation surgeries, mastectomies for healthy girls, and cross sex hormones. I promised my voters that I would stand up to their values and fight to protect Texas kids. I was reelected on that promise, and I intend to keep it by authoring legislation to defend kids from being subjected to drag shows and other inappropriate events. I look forward to working with my colleagues to pass this important legislation. Also, I think that people forget what it's like to be a child and what it's like to be so young and so impressionable. Anytime you see an adult It is very impressionable and it sticks to you as a child. Whatever you expose your child to, that's what that's their world. That's their view of adults. So you take a kid to a nightclub where the strobe lights are on, where people are dancing in fishnets and booties out and doing this for dollar bills, that sticks with them. They think that that's normal. That's what adults do. That's what I want to do when I grow up because I want to be cool like these adults and have fun like these adults instead of exposing them to, successful, professional, good people that do good things and that work on improving their minds and their skill sets and things of that nature. Kids are so impressionable, and you are shaping their world by what you expose them to. The behavior you allow in your presence is your standard. Absolutely. And what you allow in the presence of your child is their world. Tim Pool posted out, this is why we call you fake news. They say family friendly because that's what the pedos call it. So this is what some of the news is trying to do. One news outlet is saying Dallas protesters show up to drag the kids to Pride, family friendly drag show. This is not a family friendly drag show. It ain't what it is. It's so funny. So it says Dallas protesters show up to drag the kids to Pride, family friendly drag show. And then right under it, in smaller writing, it says during the event, drag performers danced and walked down the aisle in the center of the room. At times, the dancers would take dollar bills from some children. Does that sound family friendly to you? That's stripper culture, which, okay, be a stripper, that's not what I'm going to do. But do you want to encourage kids to do that? It was mostly peaceful strip club. Tim says the event is textbook grooming. Having kids tip men and thongs and watch lewd dancing, having a sign that reads, "It's not going to lick itself." The goal of grooming is to get kids as close to the line as possible to normalize the behavior. Yes, it's not going to be overt. You know what I'm saying. It's going to be normalizing and normalizing and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And these parents are so stuck on their ideology that they're incapable of taking a step back and thinking, maybe this isn't appropriate. Maybe it's just not appropriate. Hello, hello. Anyway, there's that. Our Congress and Senate have done this to America. Yeah. A lot has happened that has done this to America, but yes, our current administration is, I would say, like aiding and abetting in this, basically. So I wanted to share something else with you. This is the last thing. So we talk a lot about George Gascon. Let me see if I can find this video because what I'm looking up right now, it's to and No. Okay, I'm going to show you something. It's a little graphic. They weren't hurt though.
This happened earlier this month.
This was in Los Angeles. Where exactly is? Okay, so this is in Venice, in Los Angeles, and I'm going to show you. This was a mom in an alleyway walking with her baby in a stroller and was hit by a car. But I want you to look at the accident and how it happened, because if you look at it, it looks like the person driving swerved to actually go into the direction of the mom.
Authorities have released video of a disturbing hit-and-run crash involving a woman and a baby in Venice. And we want you to know that both the woman and the child are okay. This happened earlier this month off Speedway and Galleon Street. Witnesses chased down the 16-year-old driver.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know where that was. I used to live 2 blocks from that. And I know these alleyways. These are supposed to be, I know exactly where that is. I used to skateboard down that very alleyway. I had no idea the exact location of this. I used to skateboard down that alleyway.
Authorities have released video of a disturbing hit-and-run crash involving a woman and a baby in
Yes.
Venice. And we want you to know that both the woman and the child are okay. This happened earlier this month off Speedway and Galleon Street. Witnesses chased down the 16-year-old driver. He's accused of being under the influence of drugs and driving a rental car. We are told he was released to his parents because he's underage, and this is not considered a violent crime. He's due in court this October.
Okay, did you hear that? He was released because he's underage and this is not considered a violent crime. I do want to say they didn't show this in this video, but I love what the other people did. The people chased down the car and a truck purposefully slammed into the car to stop him. So we see a lot of videos where bystanders don't really do things and they let things happen. Yeah, the kid and their mom are okay. They didn't have really any serious injuries, so they're both totally fine and healthy. But there's a lot of updates about this because this happened, I believe, about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. I believe a month ago. So all the bystanders, they chased him down and a truck swerved in front to get him to stop. So I really commend all the people for doing that. But you could see in the video, he was going straight and it almost looked like he swerved to purposefully hit the mom and the baby. Well, now we have updates. So you heard that he was let go and this wasn't considered a violent crime. But let's look into more about who he is because we know more about him. I'm still in shock at where that was. Yeah, it sure does look violent to me too. Okay, I'm going to read you this thread. So this is Bill Malugin with Fox LA. So he shared that video and then he gives an update. He says, per multiple law enforcement sources, the juvie was on probation and violating it at the time of this hit and run. And he had been previously convicted of felony poisoning after he spiked a teen girl's drink at Palmdale High School in 2019. The girl was hospitalized. Despite the juvie's criminal history, sources in LADA's office tell me that in accordance with his policies, Gascon's admin didn't charge the juvie with assault with deadly weapon or attempted murder for the hit and run, which led to light juvie camp sentence. Gascon's office told me that the LA Sheriff's Department agreed with the lesser charges in the case. After LA County Sheriff pushed back and said LASD had no involvement in the case or the lightweight sentencing. So he was sentenced to 5 months in juvie camp. Five months in juvie camp. After all of those previous charges, after that video you saw, which to me, that was attempted, I don't know how it couldn't be. Gascon's office admitted LASD wasn't involved and told me they will correct their statement. So originally, Gascon, his office made a statement that this was in accordance with the sheriff's department, that the sheriff's department was okay with the sentence. The sheriff's department said, no, we weren't. And so Gascon's office had to change their statement. There is an update to this story. It says, new, just spoke. This is Bill Malusian with Fox LA. He says, new, just spoke with the mother who was run over by this juvenile. She was unaware of his criminal history or that he was on probation when the hit and run took place. She is furious about the light sentence and the way the case was handled. This was her statement. So the mom that you saw hit, this is her statement. Someone with a criminal record tried to kill me and my son, and George Gascon thinks that 5 months of camp is a sufficient punishment. Gascon's office took the time to falsely comment on my case, but has taken no time to ask me how we are doing. That's because he doesn't care. Gascon and his staff are highlighting their incompetence and their complete disregard for victims. Yeah, he strikes again. And you see what happens with a lot of these DAs and what George Gascon does? They try to play ping pong with the blame. They'll say, no, it was the sheriff's department. And the sheriff's department is like, what? No, it was the DA. So the DA, the prosecutor, all the sheriff's department can do, all the police department can do is arrest and book the individuals. The prosecutor has to prosecute. It almost is like a Grand Theft Audio video if you look at the whole thing. And again, like it's so awesome that the people chased him down and that car stopped him. In this area, you guys, this is a really nice, really expensive area, like a very family friendly, nice area. I cannot believe that's where that happened. It's literally right off the beach. I wonder if I can find it for you. Yeah, there's Speedway. Eva, hold on one second. Just kidding. I can't find Galleon, but it's like, see, there's the beach right there. That's Speedway. So it's like right on the beach and a very family friendly area. Oh my gosh, my cat just opened the door. All right, you all. Well, that's everything that I have for you today. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful, smart cat. Where is she? Oh, she's down here. Hold on, let me get her for you. Yeah, she opens doors. If you're going to open the door, you have to say hello. Ow. Say hello. Say hello. She does not want to be held. I think she was lonely. Yes, she's a very grouchy cat. Yes, frumpy face. Glenn said, Sarah, what about the D-Day 78th anniversary? Yes, the Normandy landings were the landing of operations associated airborne operations on Tuesday, June 6, 1944, of the Allied invasion of Normandy and Operation Overlord during World War II, condemned Operation Neptune, and often referred to as D-Day. It was the largest seaborne invasion in history. The National D-Day Memorial website estimated that fewer than 3,000 veterans of D-Day are still living in 2020 as of 2021. 6 World War II veterans are residents of Pennsylvania soldiers and sailor homes in Erie, Pennsylvania. $4,414 German casualties on D-Day have been estimated at 4,000 to 9,000 men. Allied casualties were documented for at least 10,000, with 4,414 confirmed dead. Museums, memorials, and war ceremonies in the area now host many visitors each year. Taking a wider view during the Battle of Normandy, Taking a wider view during the Battle of Normandy, over 425,000 Allied and German troops were killed, wounded, or went missing. This figure includes around 200,000 Allied casualties, with nearly 37,000 killed amongst ground forces and further 16,000 deaths among Allied forces. Wow. Are you saying, wow, I really didn't know what today? No, I knew what today was. I just wasn't talking about that. My grandpa came ashore June 7th with his artillery unit. He said the carnage was unspeakable. Fish tank, you will not be missed. I like how people say too, wow, she really didn't know what D did, as if I can't see your comments. Both my grandfathers were there. One of them barely survived it. He passed a couple of days. Glenn Allen says, I served with a D-Day vet in 1982. A D-Day vet was in my unit and retired shortly after he was a World War IV. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. I will see you later. Have a good Monday. All right. Bye, you all. I will see you later. Have a good day. I'm from Germany. I'm from Germany. I still want to live in Texas. Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody. See ya.